Welcome to a special playoff edition of Keepers, the only fantasy football show ever. I'm Matt Ufford, and if you're still alive in your league's playoffs, congratulations on either having the Seattle defense or not facing them in the first round of the playoffs. Let's get into it with starts and sits for Week 15. Start the Lions defense at Arizona. The Cardinals have the worst quarterbacks in the league, and I say this fully aware of the situation in Kansas City. It's free points, people. If you didn't have the Lions during your waiver period, get your ass over to the free agent list right now. Sit Greg Jennings. I added him and stashed him on my bench before he returned from injury, thinking it would be a great playoff move. Maybe not. Jennings had just one catch for 27 yards on 4 targets in Week 14, and while the weather limited Green Bay's passing attack, it's not like Chicago's gonna have magically awesome weather a week closer to winter. Throw Charles Tillman into that equation, and I'd look for a better option. Start Jonathan Dwyer. Dwyer's been a lousy play the second half of the season. He hasn't had more than 56 rushing yards since Week 8. But the Cowboys' run defense has given up more than 10 fantasy points to every starting running back it's faced for the last 6 weeks. And that includes lesser specimens like Michael Turner and Ben Jarvis Green Ellis, not to mention Bryce Brown's 28-point coming out party. I don't think Dwyer has a ton of upside, but he should still be a safe play in Week 15. Sit Joe Flacco. Don't be misled by his 3 TDs against the awful Skins defense last week. The Broncos are in the top third in the league at stopping fantasy quarterbacks, and they've steadily gotten better as the season's gone by. 0 300-yard passers all year, and 8 straight games with at least 1 interception. Sorry, Joe, you're still not elite. Start T.Y. Hilton at Houston. Nickel corner Brian McCann is out with a broken foot, which means Hilton, already one of Andrew Luck's favorite receivers, should see more open looks. And for those of you who are about to go a week without RG3, I've got a special segment that I call Help, I'm Desperate and I Need a Quarterback. Here's a quick list of guys you can plug in. Russell Wilson. Even though it's an East Coast game, he'll be helped by a dome and a late start time. He's a solid play against an inferior D. Josh Freeman. I hate him, but part of the reason I hate him is because he's been pretty good all year. Worth a play against the awful Saints defense. Carson Palmer. Usually the Raiders can't do anything against anyone except throw and hope to keep up. Fortunately this week, they're playing the Chiefs. And Mark Sanchez. Just kidding, he's awful. Let's go to the reality check. Last week was the usual amalgam of hits and misses. My apologies to anyone who started Brandon Myers and was rewarded with 7 receiving yards. Ugh, tight ends are stupid. What I want to do this week in the reality check is try to assure you that I'm not a complete sham. So here's a quick report on how my 4 fantasy teams did this year. 1. Dirty Flower Water went 7-6 in a 14-team league to get the 7th seed in the playoffs, where it upset the 2 seed in the first round. Still alive there. 2. My 12-team blogger league, Juggalo Baby Funeral, finished a pathetic 4-10 a year after winning the championship. I got hurt by a couple injuries, but the real damage was done by me. 4 of my losses could have been wins if I'd started the right players. Oops. 3. In my 12-team keeper league with 0.5 PPR, Muff finished 8-5, just 1 game back at the top spot, but only good enough for a 5 seed. Dominated last week's playoff game, still alive there. And in my 8-team IDP league with some old Marine Corps colleagues, Eagle Globe and Spanker finished 9-5 and lost a tiebreaker for the 1 seed. Playoffs start this week. So there you go. 3 of my 4 teams are alive in the playoffs. Maybe not an unassailable record, but it's at least passable. This is what happens when you refuse to draft Michael Vick and Ryan Matthews. And now the weather report with Isaac.
Matthew, the New England Patriots are facing the San Francisco 49ers this week in Foxborough, Massachusetts. We can expect temperatures around 36 degrees with light showers. It's going to be a very dreary day on Tuesday night when these big old teams...
No, not... Nobody plays football on Tuesday night. It's a Sunday night game. It's like the biggest one of the week. You know, you don't know anything about the weather. Do you know anything about football? Where does...
No more tears, my little child. Tonight you go to sleep. You will go to happy land. Forever I will weep.
Thanks, Isaac. Let's close the show with Hire and Let Go Gently. Hire the Dolphins defense and fire the Ravens. The underrated Dolphins D closes the fantasy season at home against Jacksonville and Buffalo. Those are favorable matchups for a team that's almost certainly a free agent in your league. The Ravens D, meanwhile, got just 4 points against the Redskins, so I hope you listened to me when I said to sit them last week. Things don't get any better in the next 2 weeks with the Broncos and Giants. Ray Lewis might be back this Sunday. Don't expect him to have a fantasy impact. Hire Josh Gordon and fire Larry Fitzgerald. What? Fire Fitty? One of the most talented players in the game and a first-round draft pick in many leagues? Yep. The man who almost single-handedly won the Super Bowl against the Steelers is averaging just 15 yards per game over the last 4 weeks. As long as Ryan Lindley and John Skelton are back there, I don't want any part of him. As for Gordon, he's gone from a boom-or-bust deep threat to the Browns' #1 receiver, whatever that's worth. He has 33 targets in the last 4 weeks, and this week the Browns host Washington's 31st ranked passing defense. He's worth adding and starting if you have an empty spot due to the Des Bryant and Dwayne Bowe injuries. Hire Vic Ballard and fire Beanie Wells. Ballard doesn't have a great matchup against Houston, but with Donald Brown out for the season, he'll be getting enough touches to have some value. I can guarantee you this much: he's not Beanie Wells. Make the swap. That's it for Week 15 of Keepers. Your outdoor activity of the week: hanging Christmas lights. People, do not try to reuse icicle lights from last year. Just throw them away and buy new ones. It'll save you time and blood pressure medication. Set your lineups. Good luck in the playoffs.